Marching in. Okay. How's everybody doing? Now, is this a rally or is this a rally? How is everybody doing? Exactly. Welcome, 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 welcome. Appreciate that. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to Ward 7. We're very happy that people are here today to help us really rally around housing and rally around the importance of housing in particular in Washington, D.C. We have so many people to thank and all of the things that they have been doing around housing over the last 4 years, and in particular, some of the recent investments and announcements that we're trying to make this year. We've got folks from the Department of Housing and Community Development. If all the DHCD people can raise their hands. We've also got the Department of Housing Finance Agency, HFA, if they could raise their hands. Office of Planning is here. Woo! And I know many members from the Deputy Mayor's Office for Planning and Economic Development are here. I think that we're also going to be joined here very soon by really one of the council's champions around housing, which is Councilmember Anita Bond. So we welcome her addition here. We're also going to hear here in a second from Stockton Williams, who's from the National Council of State Housing Agencies, to talk about the importance a little bit nationally around housing. And then obviously we've also got really the person over the last 4 years that has been really pushing the city to be thinking about housing, and that is our mayor, Mayor Muriel Bowser, here with us as well. As I like to say, I've got 3 jobs, right? I've got to make sure that I focus on making sure that tax revenues go up. I've got to be focused on making sure that D.C. residents get jobs. And I've also got to be focused on, obviously, making sure that we have affordable housing here in the District of Columbia. And that is absolutely something that has been literally at the forefront of our administration for many, many years, but something that the mayor has made even more of a priority over the last year. She has proposed not only spending $100 million in the Housing Production Trust Fund, but she has proposed a 30% increase in that to $130 million. That deserves a round of applause. The mayor has also proposed for the first time doing effectively a middle income or middle class workforce housing fund for the first time in the city's history, focusing on the importance of teachers, firefighters, and other people that are working here in the District of Columbia, making sure that they also have access to quality, affordable housing. And obviously that continues the mayor's continued investment of about $20 million and the Housing Preservation Fund. Excuse me, sir, I'm talking, and I appreciate if you can let me speak, and then you can have a chance to speak later. Is that okay? Thank you, sir. I would just like to be able to talk. So it's important that we focus on preservation as much as production. That's why the mayor's continued to invest in the Housing Preservation Fund, and we're seeing our first about 1,000 units of preservation of affordable housing here in the district. That deserves a round of applause. In many ways, the mayor has asked us to think and speak differently about housing. Excuse me, again, I'm trying to speak and you'll have an opportunity to speak. I appreciate if you will give me that courtesy. Will you? Will you give me that courtesy? Will you give me that courtesy, ma'am? Ma'am, will you give me that courtesy so that at least I can speak and then you'll have a chance? Is that okay? Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So the mayor has asked us to speak very differently and think very differently about housing. She has literally challenged us to think about ways that we can increase the production. We already know. And I think I saw Chuck Bean from COG here as well. Thank you, Chuck, for joining us.
Thank you, Chuck.
COG put out a recent analysis which said that this region needs to have 240,000 new units of housing. That's throughout our entire region. The Washington, D.C.'s portion of that is about 36,000 new housing units that we need by 2025. And what we're focused on here in the District of Columbia is making sure that a significant number of those are affordable, but also, frankly, making sure that we think about how to produce that much housing in the District of Columbia. That is going to cause us to have to think differently about how we pursue it. That means probably additional resources, but it also means different processes that we can take advantage of. One of the things that we're focused on here today in this announcement, as well as a rally, is really looking at the areas around the city and can we start to think about where we want to have or where the opportunities can potentially be for housing, and particularly affordable housing all around the city. With that, the mayor's going to be signing a mayor's order that's going to be talking about really tasking the Office of Planning to go out to individual neighborhoods and communities over the summer and really engage residents around the additional housing that they can help to create so that we can meet our goals, and most importantly, we can continue to house those that we need to house at all income levels in the District of Columbia. And I know everybody's excited about that, aren't they? Yeah! Before we hear from Mayor Bowser and a few of the other speakers, I want to invite up one of our national partners who sees these sorts of housing investments and opportunities nationwide, Stockton Williams. Again, will come up and say a few words. So, Stockton, thank you.
Thank you, Stockton. Good morning. Thank you so much. Good to be here. Good morning. Good morning. I'm not going to make you wait too long on your mayor, but I just wanted to say a few words to put this great event and what the city is doing in some perspective. I'm here as a Ward 3 resident and as someone who has the honor of running a professional trade group that represents state housing finance agencies. Here in our city, Todd Lee, DC Housing Finance Agency, is our member, and we have members in every state in the country. So I have a job that requires me to travel a lot. I was in Salt Lake City this week. I'll be in Bismarck, North Dakota next week. Every week I'm someplace different, and I will tell you, everywhere I go, housing challenges are first on the minds of local officials and community leaders. You know the story. Rents rising faster than incomes, not enough new homes coming online, increasing homelessness, housing instability. And I'm often asked in my job, well, what city has cracked the code and figured out how to solve these problems? That's why we have more than 18 million Americans, more than 18 million paying more than half their income for their rent or mortgage. So the honest answer is no city has cracked the code. No city in the country has figured out how to meet all its housing affordability challenges. But there are places that are starting to show real progress. There are cities that are bringing the political will, the business leadership, and the community engagement to the fore. Washington, D.C. is one of them. Under the leadership of Mayor Bowser, with financial tools from DCHFA, the Department of Housing and Community Development, with the efforts of many business partners and the input of community residents, the district is seen all around the country as a national leader. You don't have to take it from me. Just 2 years ago, Washington, D.C. won the most prestigious National Housing Policy Award for leadership from the Urban Land Institute. And I think it's because mayors and governors and city council members, they understand the importance of housing affordability to everything that you're trying to do. You want to attract new business and retain the best and brightest workers? You need a range of housing options near jobs and transit. You want to make sure residents of disinvested communities can benefit from their revival? You need to preserve and improve existing affordable homes, including public housing. You want to make sure children are prepared to succeed at school? You need to make sure every kid has a stable housing situation. Housing affordability challenges aren't just hard on the people who struggle to pay their rent or their mortgage. They're bad for business because workers can't afford to live near their jobs. They hurt neighborhoods because longtime residents and retailers are displaced. They make our environment less healthy because not enough housing means too much traffic and too much pollution. Now, when we think about the housing affordability challenge around the country, we rightfully think about the housing needs of our least fortunate neighbors, especially those who have no homes at all. And in fact, around this time last year, many of us celebrated the opening of HELP at Walter Reed, a terrific housing initiative involving everybody up on this stage that's providing decent, affordable housing to homeless veterans and others. It's just one example of the compassion at the heart of Mayor Bowser's housing vision. We also have to recognize, though, that in fast-growing, high-cost places like the district, housing affordability challenges are very real for people who have a stable income and a stable home situation. And that's why this concept of workforce housing is so important. The point is, local communities that are best positioned to deal with the full scope of their housing affordability challenges will be the ones most positioned to succeed. The district is doing that, and you'll hear a lot more about it today. Now, Mayor Bowser, I know that the federal officials who work not too far from here would do well to learn from what you and your team are doing. And I think you'd all agree that while local leadership can accomplish a lot, our country's big challenges need a strong federal partner at the table. The district's results the vision that the mayor has that you'll hear more about today, and make a powerful case for expanding the tools that DCHFA, DCHCD, and other agencies, as well as the private sector, can use. The work you're all doing sends a very strong message that we can solve the nation's and the district's housing affordability challenges if we mobilize the will at all levels of government. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Stockton, very much. Sometimes it's important to also remember the human impact of this. And so I'd like to invite up Jennifer Sumlin to talk a little bit about her experience personally, but also to have her introduce the mayor. So welcome Jennifer Sumlin up.
Hey, Jennifer. Thank you. Oh, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I had no idea when I was asked to come and address this esteemed group that I would have all of this support and affordable housing love behind me. So thank you so much for being here. Good morning, Mayor Bowser, Councilmember Bonds. I think she's still coming. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Other D.C. government officials, Stockton Williams, and invited guests. My apartment complex is located on Cedar Street in Upper Northwest Washington. That's Ward 4. It's a 30-unit building located just 2 blocks from the Tacoma Metro Station on the Red Line. And our building was severely damaged by a windstorm in 2016. That resulted in one of the wings of our building being totally destroyed. The roof came up and over into our front courtyard, and it displaced a number of our tenants, about a third of our tenant population. The owner made an insurance claim, pocketed the insurance proceeds, and instead of fixing up the building and getting tenants back home, he decided to sell the building. Due to that, 8 tenants who were displaced from the building due to the storm are permanently now living elsewhere. The Cedar Street Tenant Association was organized with the goal of exercising its rights under TOPA. In March of 2018, we selected Joseph Development Incorporated as our designated developer, based in part on their plan to acquire and renovate our building, preserving its affordable housing by accessing DHCD housing resources. Thanks to money from the Housing Preservation Fund and the Housing Production Trust Fund, our chosen developer was not only able to acquire the building, but is slated soon to now make critical repairs to our building, and that would include all 30 units. Thank you. Cedar Street Tenant Association is proud to be able to say that we've done all we can to continue to preserve our apartment community as affordable housing. We are extremely grateful for the level of attention and support that the D.C. government is providing to address the affordable housing crisis in the city. And now I would like to introduce Mayor Muriel Bowser, a leader in developing innovative, affordable housing strategies, who will share more information with you on her bold goals of creating and preserving housing for Washingtonians across all 8 wards.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Be careful over here. We're a little... Well, hello, everybody. Good morning. It is a pleasure to be with you all here today in beautiful Ward 7. And Jennifer, I want to thank you for that introduction, a real live example about how we can use our tools to ensure that we are preserving the hundreds and thousands of units of housing in the district that is affordable right now. But without critical investments, we would lose that housing. So Stockton, thank you for bringing us the national perspective. And thank you all for being here, because I know you have some hand in making sure we keep DC affordable for DC residents. Who has seen the Cynthia townhomes right around the corner from here? We are proud of how Phase 1 is coming together, and it's clear that we need more. And so that's what we're doing right here on this land where we're holding this event today. Here soon you will find 5 new townhomes for DC families. And if you might... And if you might hear and think, just 5, as my friends have said. But what we know is that if we build 5 here and 10 there and 100 there, it all adds up. And if you pass up any opportunity to reclaim land in the district for affordable housing, we will never hit our goals. In fact, during my first term in office, despite what anybody says, we have gotten more affordable housing dollars out the door than for any previous administration. Despite what my critics have to say, when I became mayor, we were spending $50 million out of the Affordable Housing Production Trust Fund. And in 4 years, we doubled that amount to $100 million. Despite what people think, what we have done in this budget is add another $30 million to the Housing Production Trust Fund. And despite what anybody says, we have been unable to unstick projects like Plaza West. Plaza West, right here in the District of Columbia, is an example for the nation where grandparents raising grandchildren can find decent, affordable housing in the center of the city. You know how long the Jill Kerr Conway residence was underway? 15 years. And in our administration, we opened it up for veterans experiencing homelessness. So don't tell me we're not doing all that we can for affordability in our city. Now, the truth is, we can't undo what wasn't done 15 years ago. But we can double down on our efforts. And that is why we doubled the Affordable Housing Production Trust Fund. That's why I created a housing strike force that included Council Member Anita Bonds, who has been a soldier for housing on the City Council. And at the start of let me go back to another issue, because it leads us to the issue at hand. I promised that we would close DC General because it wasn't appropriate for our families. And I said we would have an all 8 ward solution. We have fought for 4 years to make sure communities accept our families who are experiencing homelessness and exiting homelessness with a lot of support. And now we have to do the same thing for our affordable units. Our affordable units, of course, Ward 7 will have affordable units. Of course, Ward 8 will have affordable units. But what part will Ward 3 play? And so what we're doing today is talking about how we as a region, because the truth is DC can't do it alone to keep this region affordable and competitive. Well, let's work on it. You can complain. That's what we're talking about. Let's work on it. I love that we're having debate about this, finally. But we have to keep DC affordable for all families in our city. And that's why we have done more to end homelessness, to produce more units, more supportive housing units, and that's why we're going to keep it going. That's why we give an unprecedented subsidy to the Housing Authority. And that is why we are going to hold the Housing Authority accountable for spending our tax dollars the right way. Regionally, across our region, we need to create 240,000 units of affordable housing. You know, recently the Washington Post congratulated the state of Virginia for adding $4 million to production. $4 million for the whole state. We add $30 million, and it's like business as usual. But it is unprecedented for a city of our size to put this type of subsidy into affordability. Affordable housing has been the hallmark of what our administration has been about for 4 years. And we are upping the ante. You cannot hit a goal if you don't set a goal. And so this goal for the next till 2025, and it's going to be here before you know it, is that we will produce 36,000 new units by the year 2025. As I have said before, I'll lay out this goal in the mayor's order. The mayor's order that I'm about to sign will task our agencies with finding new ways to accelerate the delivery of housing. That means that we need the support of the entire government to make sure that our housing agencies, our inspection agencies are working together to do that. It directs all of our agencies to identify ways they can support the end of chronic homelessness, consistent investment, producing affordable housing, providing the supports that our families need. It asks our agencies to create programs and policies that put home ownership in the reach of more Washingtonians. We know that we can only build wealth among really DC families through home ownership. There is a lot to overcome because of historic redlining and racism that put many families behind. But I, for one, want to be the mayor that helps turn that around. Are you with me? It also acknowledges that as we create more affordable housing, we have to be fair and thoughtful about how it's distributed across all 8 wards. Now, when I have to go into tough neighborhood conversations, everybody who's with me now, you got to be there with me then. This mayor's order makes clear, just as we've done with homelessness, that we're going to take an all 8 wards approach. We need a citywide solution to solving our housing crisis. And the mayor's order builds on the investments included in the budget that I sent to the council in March. And I want to acknowledge once again Councilmember Anita Bonds for her leadership in protecting those dollars for affordable housing. Let's give Anita Bonds a big round of applause. There's more. So we're in the middle of amending the comprehensive plan. Remember that? More than a year ago, I introduced legislation to get this amendment process moving. And yet, we still haven't gotten the council chairman to move it through the council. So today, I'm once again calling on the council to move forward the comprehensive plan. It is an important tool in our effort to create much-needed housing in D.C., and we need to get the process back on track. We know we have been partners with the City Council in this work, and we will continue working diligently to make sure that we have pipelines of housing that will allow our city to continue to grow and for all Washingtonians to participate in our prosperity. Let me acknowledge our big deal team at DMPED, Brian Kenner and his team. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kenner. Let me acknowledge the D.C. Housing and Community Development Agency led by Polly Donaldson. Give her a big round of applause. Let me recognize Andrew Trueblood, who will help us drive our goals through and lead the community conversation this summer about how we distribute our goals. Andrew Trueblood. Let's thank Todd Lee, who is the Executive Director of the D.C. Housing Finance Agency, which is a key agency in helping us finance these projects. Give him a big round of applause. And together we are going to build and preserve safe and affordable housing. I think we all know, and I am more than happy to answer questions, to be challenged, to take criticism, because that is how important this issue is to everybody. The sense of being displaced from this town is real. We shouldn't forget about it. But we all have to be smart and strategic and know that we are attacking it with a plan. I've got a plan. Let's do it. So, we'll start with press questions. Press questions first, and then I'll come to you. Press questions. Yes, sir.
What's the plan to build more 3 more affordable units in Ward 3?
As I mentioned, we're going to spend the next several months doing some community engagement, looking at our pipeline of development, looking at the comprehensive plan, and then we will be discussing with the community the best ways to distribute the goal. So we don't have a goal now. Per neighborhood, I should say. Yes.
Alex Hillman with the Business Journal. You mentioned the regional strategy in particular, and some of that is in the order. How exactly does the district plan to work with its partners in the region to meet that more ambitious 20?
We will continue to work through COG and Polly, the current chair, right? She is the chair of regional housing directors at the Council of Governments. We will continue to work with that process and encourage our jurisdictional partners to also adopt goals and the types of incentives that we have to encourage the production of affordable units.
How exactly are these meetings going to work with the community? Are they going to be about existing projects with developers, or is it going to be city, created projects?
I think both. And maybe some other things will be included. Our intent is to put everything we know on the table, but also to think outside of the things that we know. All right, thank you. And ma'am, we're going to sign, and then I'll take your questions.
Thank you.